So apparently somebody in this film had a huge foot fetish. What was up with Tahar walking through the subway, doing his scenes without any shoes on his feet? Guys, we're back on the cinema scale. Today we are here with Madam Web. The film stars Dakota Johnson, Sydney Sweeney, Isabella Merced, and Celeste O'Connor. Cassandra Webb is a New York paramedic who starts to show signs of clairvoyance. Forced to confront revelations about her past, she must protect three young women from a mysterious adversary who wants them dead. That sounds easy enough, right? The film starts off in the early 70s, broadcasting or showing you a little bit about what Madam Web's mother, her life was like before Madam Web obviously was born. Then the film jumps right into the year '03, obviously because they're trying to connect this thing to Spider-Man, which they do horribly. They give a shout out to Uncle Ben and his sister-in-law, which not much character development there. You find yourself dealing with Dakota Johnson's character, aka Madam Web, in a very, very distant way. Most of the film, she spends her time trying to figure out what's going on with her. That's a good first 50 minutes of the film. And she's in and out of these experiences, the sixth sense that she's having. So there are moments in the film that you don't know what's happening at all. But then there are moments in the film where it's like, okay, I kind of see what they were doing there. And then you add to this catastrophe here, right? You throw in this villain played by Tahar Rahim. And the interesting thing about this villain is there's no motive for what he is trying to do. Apparently, he sought to take the spiders for himself, and he wanted to use the spiders for whatever the reason. Never really clarified in the film. And then throughout this entire film, he spends his waking moments using poor dialogue and using this super awesome tech device that cops don't even have at their disposal to track down these three girls. And because she's seen these three girls throughout her sixth sense, now Madam Web is going to do everything in her power to protect them. And that is what really transpires throughout the entire film. And in the middle of that, you have a lot of plot holes that don't really make sense. You end up with a lot of questions. For example, she starts off by saying that she's going to protect these girls, but throughout the film, she leaves these girls more than she stays with these girls. So, for example, she says to them, hey, I'm going to be protecting you guys. Hey, wait a minute, stay right here in this shady area. I got to go check my mail for a second. Awesome for protection. Another thing you're going to encounter in this film is the fact that Madam Web does not have any physical fighting ability. So throughout the film, the action sequences are literally limited to her being thrown around by this guy and explosions. Cringy dialogue from the girls, and I'm just appalled because you have some stellar actors here. For example, Isabella Merced, she has talent. Like, she has a very healthy resume, but she wasn't used in to the best of her potential. But you can tell the studio was all over this one. There's no character development between Madam Web and these three girls that she's trying to protect. You're thinking to yourself, okay, so we were here, but now we're here. What was the logic? Like, what was the point of taking us here if you weren't going to explain why they were there in the first place? Obviously, Adam Scott as Ben Parker, I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, I love Adam Scott. I've seen a lot of his work. He was in Monster-in-Law with Jennifer Lopez. He was in Step Brothers, Will Ferrell. But him in this role as Ben Parker, not good at all. And then you throw in there Mike Epps. I guess you can call his role just it's not a cameo, but it's just small enough to be categorized as such. You're putting a guy in the film like that just to have him ripped out so quickly. Mike Epps, an established actor, that just doesn't make any sense. Dakota Johnson, though, as Madam Web, it was wrong. She, it's no wonder we haven't seen her since 50 Shades of Grey. Her performance in this movie was second grade level at best. It was a lot of, guys, don't go here. Guys, wait a second. I think I'm seeing something. And then I'm in my seat like, okay. Oh, okay. Well, what is it that you're seeing? And then she's like, no, I got this. And I'm like, all right. In any event that you want to actually get this, please get this. And then there were scenes where, she finds herself just, they really portray Madam Web as weak. This entire film is literally a game of cat and mouse. There is no character development. There is no plot development. There is no scenic value. And then she's in the film, and her superpower must be hitting people with cars. She spends a lot of time in the film stealing cars, ambulances, taxis, and just hitting the villain with these cars in the most dramatic and just humorous of ways. When you think about a film with a decent cast, I'm not going to say they're the best cast, but it's interesting when you see the potential that some of these actors and actresses have, and then how they just sabotage it. And then let's talk about Emma Roberts for a minute. She, that was a sucker punch. I don't know why. Emma Roberts has no business being in association with a superhero film, even though she played the role that she played as the sister-in-law. She just added to the cringe of the film. There were just moments where you just don't feel any connection to these characters whatsoever, and I'm really big on connections, because that's just what drives a film. Like, if you can't leave that theater feeling somewhat connected to the film before you got there and sat down to watch it, then it's a waste of time. Like, why am I here? Like, why are we literally here at the end of the day? Obviously, there's no post-credit scenes. The CGI in the movie, it gets cringy at certain points. What was the logic of some of the CGI? Some of the moments just didn't make sense. You barely got a name of the alter ego that Ezekiel, the villain, was playing in the film. There's no connection whatsoever. All we know is that he wanted something from her mother, he took it, and that was that. And then they try to throw this background into the film where she's, oh, I missed my mom, and Mom, I'm sorry. That was never portrayed from the beginning of the film. So now we're here, hour into the movie, and then she just randomly ends up to, where her mother was before she died, and then now she has all these feelings. And then when she cries, I'm like, okay, so she cried, and then there was just nothing. It was like she cried for a second, and then it flipped. I mean, you got more tears than that in Tobey Maguire's version of Spider-Man. Madam Web is definitely an interesting film. It doesn't leave you feeling anything for the characters or the storyline. And quite frankly, in some cases, you can just say that you're better off without it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know how you guys feel or fared with Madam Web. I mean, yeah, Madam Web.